So to prepare for the honey pots, we want to also prepare our kibble. You can just do it dry, but I like to soak it. So I've just boiled the kettle. I don't like doing it fully, so about 15 seconds should be great. And then once that's done, I transfer it over to a different bowl and I just mash it all together basically, just to create more of a paste. I did add a little bit of bone broth. Usually I would mix it in a bit of water first, but because there was already so much water in the kibble, I didn't. I just mixed a little bit in. They really love bone broth, so I've just popped it in, but you don't have to, you can skip that step. Now moving on to the topples, we're using a wet food base. Now my dogs do primarily eat raw, but I always have some wet food stocked just in case I have a lazy day, so I went with some Cannigan today, and again I just mashed it up. Sometimes I will add water, but because the topples have a hole, I tend to not do that unless I've got time. You can buy those little pin things on Etsy I think, and they're pretty good, but I didn't do them this time around, and then I just pop them in and I flatten it down and they'll go in the freezer like that. Then with the licky bowls, I tend to not thaw it very much, so I do it enough for me to be able to break it apart, and then I can pop it back in the freezer basically still half frozen, and I find that that's just the best way that works for me. And then I just squeeze that in and pop it in the freezer. Same with the yogi pot. So here I'm using fresh food. This is butternut box, not thawing it much. This will hurt your hands a little bit if you're doing it when it's still quite frozen, but it's worth it. Then moving on to the ice cube preparations. These are for the little ghosts. As I've specified on the image, I haven't actually said how much is going in what, just because there is no specific way to do this. I was just trying to get the colours right and use things they like, so just have fun with it. And then moving on to these tombstones, I'm just using a bit of the pate. I really like the way it blends, and then for the base I'm actually just popping on a bit of dried blood. I know in America you can get like blood sprinkles, but I haven't been able to find them in the UK. But this works really well, and it just gives a little bit more definition, that rusty look to the base, and I just didn't want the bottom of I didn't want the pattern to disappear when I filled them up with just the mixture. And then using blueberries and charcoal just to make the mixture actually blacky grey. And I found that the charcoal really helps them stay together as well when they're trying lots of new things. So I always tend to stock that just in case they're a bit of a funny tummy. Then for the pumpkin cubes, I'm going to be using some sweet potato. You can just use pumpkin. I just found it easier. My dogs really like sweet potato, so I added some probiotic pumpkin powder on top, and blended that with just minimal water just so it stayed really nice and thick. I also filled up the other molds with the other mixtures I've already made. That just allowed for no waste, and also meant that I had lots of tiny little features as well that I could throw into the designs at the end. Now, if you watched our other video, you know that we dressed up as dinosaurs and went into town and went training as dinosaurs. So I made sure that we did a dinosaur themed topple as well. So what we did is I added a bit of yogurt at the bottom and then popped in some lettuce. As you can see, the dogs did not want to eat the lettuce on their own, which is absolutely fine, totally what I expected. Little man on his little sofa definitely liked tearing it up, as Sherlock was very offended by it. I just added in a few cooked Brussels sprouts. I apologise, I misspelt Brussels sprouts I think in most of these, so please just ignore that. And then I blended that all up with some spirulina and it turned out really nice green. Then I wanted to add some trees into the dinosaur design, and so I bought these little like palm tree type things, and I thought I could just make them look a little bit more haunted, you know. So I mixed up some of the Brussels sprouts, I just mashed them, and I added some of that green mixture, and then I popped in with the platinum fit stick with some wet food into the stump bit. Then I put as you can see, the mix into the top bits to add like a little bit of texture so they didn't really look like palm trees. I really wish the tree trunk turned out a bit taller, but they did okay. I really love the way these pumpkins turned out. I find that the features like the eyes and the hat were just really clear, which I was really happy about. And then the skull and the bat and the little ghost I didn't actually end up using, but they are in my freezer and they will be eaten for sure. Then you have these little ones which did so well. I was so scared that they're gonna break when I try and take them out, but actually they didn't. The tombstones and the spiders were definitely my favourite, but the bats were great and the pumpkins were awesome. I didn't have any use for the witches' hats though. Then these are the trees. Only one broke, which I was quite impressed with. They didn't look amazing. They're probably not my favourite, but the dogs loved them and they did do the job, so. Then the little ghosties, these were awesome. I love these so much. I actually have some spare in the freezer and I can't wait for them to have some more, but I don't want them having so much basic naughty things all in one go. But they were really fun. And then the gravestones turned out amazing. I love the way the blood looked on the bottom of them. I'm not sure if the licky matte sprinkles did much, but I'd be scared not to do it exactly the same next time. I really loved the detail. It just looked so good. So I was really happy with those. So the mini decorations are just kind of the glue and the little bits that come with the designs that I've made. So all I'm making here is a bit of a darker paste and a normal brown paste, just so I can basically use it as glue. And then the powder is dried sprats. I'm using the Yora wet food because it is so thick. It's made out of insects as well, so it adds to the creeps. But it's really good because it's so thick and sticky that it keeps everything together. Then I made some berry guts with the watermelon and some strawberries. And then I cut up some of the lettuce because I thought it could just be used as like grass. Then I used the rest of the sweet potato that I boiled earlier and just mashed it, and then I can use some of it as basic glue for the pumpkins. And then we started designing the licky bowls. So as you can see, the darker paste I'm just using as basically glue for the gravestone. And then I'm using some of the little bits and I'm just designing it all together. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play some music over the rest, just so you can kind of see the design, but you don't have to hear my voice. If you have any questions about anything, just pop them down in the comments. But apart from that, enjoy. I really love the way all of these turned out and I'm so excited to think of some ideas for Christmas.